Good morning. Good morning. Grand Rising. Here are the people. What's up, party people? I see you coming. The place to be. Good morning, Adam. On the way to the gym.
Oh, what's up, Purple? How you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm grand. Good morning, Jackie. Bonus mom. What's up? Abimbola, I see you. Good morning. Thank you all for being patient, coming in. Grand Rising.
Purple. Good morning. Good morning.
Peace
Good
and
morning.
blessings.
Let's see, who else do we have in here? Let's play a little romper room, a little hood romper room. Naja's in the house. Tia's in the house. Kay Brown's in the house. Laura's in the house. What up, sisters in the house? The blazing billionaire Teresa Scott is in the house. Tracy Ann is in the house. Now, you may not be in the house. You may be getting ready, going in motion, moving, grooving, wherever you are. Whatever you do, what up? You like the sun. You're a star. Good morning, Grand Rising. Thank you for being here. I should say good hood. Good hood morning. That's right. We're up in here, day 690, 690. Wake up, everybody. Rep your hood, part 2. And if you can't tell, I'm giving my radio host this morning. My radio host, like the love doctor on Do the Right Thing. That's what I'm feeling right now. Feeling like the love doctor. I'm so glad you all could be here. This is like a special request right here because last week was Rep Your Hood, and by popular demand, you asked for it, so I am back with part 2. Part 2, Rep Your Hood. I appreciate the request and the woo, woo, woo. If you don't know, now you know. The support today is Tiffany and Cheryl Glenn. I want to thank the administrators for backing me up. Matter of fact, not even having my back, for being right on our side, for being on each other's side. Thank you, admin. Thank you, Woo. Thank you for the founder and the creator and the Woo creator, Shawnee and the team. We know this is a collective movement right here, Woo. And Woo couldn't happen without me and all of you. What up? So if you're just arriving, you are at the right place at the right time, wherever you are. And shout out to Facebook. I can't forget, Facebook is in the house too. What up, Facebook folks? Do what you do. Come through if you're able to in the Zoom room, or pop your questions in the chat for sure. This morning, you might want a little notepad to write your answers, questions, or comments down real quick.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning. Discerning, we're striving. Together, together, we're leading. Connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Good morning, good morning. I am Sheikia Norris, lyrically known as Purple Haze, the Generation Gapper rapper, and you are here on day 690 at the Woo Place to Be. Our topic of the day is Rep Your Hood. Not only rep your hood once, but again and again and again and again and again. So we're doing Rep Your Hood Part 2. This is a continuation from last week, but don't worry if you missed last week. I'm going to make sure you set up and you are good. Can we go to the next slide? So for those who were here last week, we're going to continue with the same slides, even in some of the same quotes, so a little refresher, right? It ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. So right now, I want you to go ahead and put it in the chat. Where are you from and where are you at? And then I want somebody to come on right now and tell me a little bit about where they're from and where they're at. Can I get a volunteer right at the top? And the admin's going to be helping me because the device I'm using. So if I don't see your hands, please keep them up or know that I am not ignoring you. I apologize for that. Do we have any volunteers to come on right now? Yeah, I see somebody coming in, connecting. Teresa Scott, what up? Come on in.
Okay, can you repeat the question? Where am I at and where am I from?
That's right. Where are you from and where are you at as far as location?
I'm from Harlem, New York, and I'm in Queens, New York. What's up, family?
All right.
Peace and blessings.
That's right. Now, Teresa, what's the difference between where you're from, you living where you are from, and you living where you are at? Is there a difference for you?
It's a big difference. Yes, it's a big difference. So huge difference.
What's some of the differences?
The difference is
right
that,
away.
The difference is that the people is different because we were like we were very close knit family when I grew up, and a lot of times like the family it used to be like that here some, but it was just that we just knew each other a lot more and we was involved in each other's life. We was outside playing, like being in the street, sitting on the stoop playing. So it's a whole bit because no stoop, and it wasn't. It was we just had a lot of fun and we did we did a lot of street stuff we played outside in the street. We did like the street games like the hopscotch and double dutch and what's the other one we did? Handball and what's the game that we play? The game like Red Rover, send somebody right over.
Hey.
And we did hot peas and butter. Come get your supper. So we were very much active. It wasn't like inside on the the TV and only time we watched TV was Saturday, Saturday when we was watching the kung fu movies, like the Martha and the kung fu movies and it was just different, because we was kids and we had fun and it's nice out here but it's different compared to what I grew up with and the people at one time people were close here but now everybody's like doing their own thing, so it's a big difference. We don't have that close.
I love the share. Teresa,
Yeah.
I'm going to pause you right there and pull out some of these things. I love what you're sharing. So you talked about the experience of collective community relationships.
Yes.
You also talked about the games that you all played, which were opportunities to bond and connect. And you even talked about the days of the week and the television shows. And so I want people to write also in the chat, what were the games that were played in your neighborhood? And you could go ahead and also write the popular television shows that y'all would talk about on Monday at school, right? These are very, very specific things, no matter when you were born and where you were at. Now, Teresa, when I asked you about the difference between where you're from and where you're at, I love that you kind of took us into a time and you even identified when you were a child, when you were younger, it was different. Would you say the difference between the two places you live is or the way you experience it is based upon age and stage in life? Or
This
no?
most definitely is. It's most definitely is because the atmosphere of the world has changed. Period. So it's like the people are different, and even like it was drug deals and stuff out there when I grew up, but it wasn't like that disrespect. Like there was drug deals, like, but it
So
was a
a
different kind of
societal,
respect. It's here.
Society changed. Now, let me ask
Yes.
you this. When it comes to where you are at in Queens, and you don't have to tell us where, or we all coming through, we coming through
Right.
and be on your stoop and recreate your times. No. When it comes to where you are,
Uh-huh.
do you see kids in your neighborhood?
No, it's a lot of kids, but the kids is
Okay,
just
hold on.
rough.
Before
Oh,
you go
I'm
there,
sorry. Let me be quiet. Yes.
Now, would you say those kids know the difference? Would you say that they have a difference? Or would they, if they came on right now, would they say, oh, we play this game and we do this and it's fun and I know so and we go here? Do you observe them having their
Oh,
childhood time in the neighborhood?
yeah. They play. They got this bottle game because I've been outside with them. They got this bottle game that they play, and they say some words and they go in the middle and they pull the bottle and run. So they do that, and we have a Spanish community that join us. So the Spanish people be having everybody out there playing. The Spanish people they have this ball that they play and they throw up in the air. And so to me it seems that the Spanish community that joined in our building, they bought like the play game because they getting everybody involved. The kids are playing, the parents are involved. So it's like it's a big difference. I mean, we was out there like about a month ago watching them, and they had everybody like we was on our chair, we was on the edge of our chair sitting out there because it was just so phenomenal the way that they was playing these games. And so to
I
me, I feel like they
love that.
brought it back. They brought back like that play thing like we had in Harlem. Yeah.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming on, sharing
You're
with us,
welcome.
Teresa. You helped me kind of make a point. We are really connected sometimes to where we are from. And at times we miss what's going on where we are at. But I wonder if it's because it's not during that youthful stage in life, right? Young people right now are in the hood having their kind of play, right? It's a different time. It's a different time. But I notice when it comes to where we are from and where we are at, people speak about where they are from often through the lens and the heart of a child's experience. And what I love when we reflect in hindsight is we often talk about the good times. Now, last week we ended talking about some of the societal impacts that create ghettos. And we identified what a ghetto is and is not. And a ghetto is not a people, a ghetto is a section that is often occupied by those who are oppressed, and impacted and living in poverty, right? So ghetto is not a people. And often with the name Sheikia, Shaniqua, Norris, and there were others on last week, our names were called ghetto, right? And then there's a whole assumption. Even looking up the name Shaniqua this week, it literally is in an urban dictionary as a girl from a ghetto, and it describes all these ways I'm acting sometimes. But and that's not even true. The name Shaniqua actually means God is grace, right? And so that it doesn't say ghetto anywhere in my name. But this is some of the labels and the things that even we have done. And I say we, meaning some of my people that also live in the ghetto. And today's session, I want to point out something I didn't point out last week, is today's session is actually called Rep Your Hood, right? So it was inspired by a question, is the Bronx the ghetto? And that would be a generalization if I said the entire Bronx was the ghetto, right? But when I heard that question a few months ago, I was like, well, some parts, right? I have a t-shirt on right now. This is a section of the Bronx. I don't believe that section is identified as a ghetto, Riverdale. I know it's not. And so what is the relationship when we identify our places based upon lack? And so last week we went more into the celebration of our hood. And hood is short from neighborhood. I'm curious of people that grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or any time before the 80s. Did y'all call it hood? Can I get somebody to come on and tell me? Because I knew I grew up in the hip hop generation. Y'all know that's my thing. That's my culture I identify with. So I know we called it hood. And I think we actually spread that term hood in our music and in our language. And so I'm curious beforehand, what was the neighborhood called? What up, Jackie? I see you. Jackie, come on. And then Theodora. I can't hear you. Oh, Jackie, you're muted.
All right. As a
Good
we called
morning.
it the hood. We called it the hood. We would say
Uh-oh, you're muted again.
I'm not doing that. I don't know why.
Okay.
Okay, we called it the hood. But we said the neighborhood and hood for short. But you know, certain parts of the hood was ghetto, because not the whole hood
Okay.
was ghetto, and ghetto had a specific meaning, and it was more about what was going on in the time, because you know there was a lot of heroin abuse and stuff like that. So there would be certain parts of the hood where it was straight up ghetto, and you was like, don't go in that part. But we called it. Listen, y'all didn't invent nothing. That stuff been around.
Well, that's the Sankofa of life. 360, everything under the sun comes back in return for sure. But I am curious. Thank you for that, Jackie. Thank you for that. Theodora.
Yes, good morning.
Yes,
I
where are
grew
you
up,
from and where are you at, Theodora? And I forgot to ask Jackie that, but where are you from? Jackie is from the Bronx and lives in Washingtonville. I know
okay.
that. Theodora, where are you from and where you
I
at?
was born in Manhattan, in Harlem, raised in Brooklyn, in Canarsie, and I live on Staten Island.
Ah, all right, all right. Wow, I don't always meet people that live in those three boroughs. It is an honor to be with you this morning. Now,
Good morning.
Theodora,
Yes.
I'm curious. Did you call it hood? What did you reference
Well,
your
I lived
neighborhood
in
as?
Harlem. I lived in Harlem until I was 8 years old, so we didn't call that hood at the time. It was just more or less our block, our street, and we all hung out and played. From that time until through my teenage years, I lived in Canarsie in Brookline houses. So it was like, the projects, but we didn't so much call it the hood, but they did have different areas where they had their little gangs and their little shamans and whatnot. But they also had areas that they called ghetto or
Yes.
rough.
So certain sections of a neighborhood may be visibly
Right. Yeah.
have certain interactions
Right.
and things that are identified as ghetto. What would you say the difference between, like, I love Coach Mika. I got to work with Coach Mika, right? She does with the five senses for us to look in reality, right? And so looking at Harlem, right?
You're right.
What in those places that were and were not ghetto, what did you see that made one place ghetto and one place not ghetto?
I lived on 114th Street in Harlem.
Oh, I know your block. No.
I'm born in 1945, so from 45 to 53, I lived on 114th Street between Lenox and St. Nicholas in Harlem.
Yes.
And things might have been going around that older people understood, but
yeah, give me your 8-year-old eyes.
My 8-year-old eyes. It was a great place to grow up. We played as kids. The building that I lived in was like one big family. My godmother lived in that building and we lived on the ground floor. So it was, through those eyes, it was great. But we moved out of there in 1953. And a lot of the kids that I grew up with and played with, that's when the drugs really started to get more popular. And it looked like every so many months, every year, we were losing one of our older friends. When I moved to Canarsie, it was different. It was integrated. The building that I lived in had white, Black, Puerto Rican, and as children, we lived almost as one big family. As we got into high school or junior high school, some of the fractions changed. But for the most part, in that building, it was like one big family.
Are any of those neighborhoods?
We were outside all the time. I mean, those Chicago steel skates, we were all over. Brookline houses goes from 103rd Street to Williams Avenue, and from Flatlands Avenue all the way back to I think Stanley Avenue.
And you better rep your hood, Theodora. I hear you repping your streets and your blocks. I'm
Right.
curious, Theodora, and thank you for working with me on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you, or any of those neighborhoods
Mm-hmm.
considered the ghetto, then or now?
Parts
your
of
knowledge.
Brownsville. Parts of Brownsville when we were coming up. Now, I don't know if you would consider it's the project. So I don't know if you consider it the ghetto. It's different than when I grew up, as most places are, because
Okay, what's the difference?
more crime, more killings, more shootings. It wasn't people. If you heard somebody get shot when I was coming up, that was rare. If you heard somebody get cut, yeah.
Yeah,
My
that's real.
mom, I have a beaded purse that my mother used to carry with a straight a switchblade in it.
And that was in the 40s.
That was in the 40s and 50s. Yes.
Ah, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Something we talked about last week is going back into different generations. I'm so glad as a generation rapper gap, a rapper. That's why I'm glad we're here to have that, right? Because
Yes.
when people think of gangs, Theodora, right?
Mhm.
Or they talk about hip hop coming out the Bronx and it was a nonviolence movement or act
Mhm.
against violence, right? People
Mhm.
identify gangs
Mhm.
in that time as if gangs didn't exist. Gangs, to my knowledge, have always
Oh
existed in
no,
America.
they existed, but the gangs back then were more fist fighting than cutting and
Yes.
shooting. It was
Yes,
more
so
fist
it
fighting.
evolved.
Right. You
Right.
got,
I knew elders that always told me they used to pack it in their purse, even on the way to church, And so, what is the environment that we're in that has some people in America carry weapons and some people in America don't carry weapons? Is that a sign of the time or is that the hood?
weapons carrying is not a hood thing. Weapons carrying is Riverdale, Hollywood, or people. Some people just feel like they want to carry a weapon. Maybe that makes them comfortable, but
It's like
my thing is
safety,
right.
right? It's some type of safety. And interestingly enough, I would challenge Theodora and say, well, not even challenge. I think, yes, I think people in a lot of different neighborhoods carried weapons based
Right.
upon family, stories, history. I know when it comes to people of color, right? When it
Mhm.
comes to real or perceived danger and threat,
Right.
the experience of being enslaved created this fear that it was just about being equipped and being ready. And so, how does that affect a child? I think is what Coach Mika was on last week talking about a little bit. She got this test done. I don't know if you heard her. And the doctor said to her that she had like heightened her brain. She had she didn't have a normal response to violence. And I would attribute that to not only neighborhoods, but sometimes family stories and
Right.
warnings about what
Right.
to do or habits. Yo, you got to put this in your sock, make sure you always got this on you, or we carry this, we do this, right? Now, I'm not going to ask you because we on Zoom. I'm not going to ask you if you carry anything. That's none of my business this morning.
No,
right?
it's all right. I don't carry anything.
Right. Okay.
I don't.
So that's good. That's good. And so what had you not continue that pattern, though you had an elder, a person that was, an authority and a figure do so?
Oh, well, I didn't find that out till many years later when when she passed and I got into some of her stuff. So that was something I think she might have done when she was like younger, hanging out maybe.
We don't know, right? She's not here to
I
tell,
don't
but
know.
thank you for
I
telling
don't
that
know. Like I
story.
said, I didn't find that until after she had passed. But my mom wasn't a violent type person, and she was always
Right.
that type of peacemaker. And So I didn't, that's why it was such a surprise to me when I did
Yeah.
find them. Right.
Thank you
Right.
for that. Thank you for sharing. I know in the quote unquote ghettos I lived in, that definitely was a usual thing. But when I moved, or when I explore and I'm out in the world, I find out, especially outside of America, I find out that's not necessarily normal.
No, it's
People
not.
don't just carry weapons, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to stop carrying something. And then it was just razor blades and box cutters and brass knuckles and stuff, whatever my brother left behind, I could pick up or copy from him,
Mm-hmm.
But there was a certain time, right? And so, do you feel safe would be my question to people in your hood. Do you feel safe in your hood?
In my
Thank
neighborhood
you.
where I live
Yes,
right
Theodore.
now, I feel pretty safe. But with all that is happening now, because I am a senior,
Mhm.
one of my clients' daughters got beat up on the bus over the weekend, out of nowhere.
Love and
So
grace and
people
happy healing to her.
just,
Healing.
some things are happening that are so crazy. People walk up to you and don't know you and just knock you down for no reason.
I'm sorry
And
that
it,
happened.
and it's being perpetrated more on elders because they
Yes.
right. So
And
they,
Theodora, you pointed to something, sign of the time. But now the
right.
time in this case is not neighborhood based. It's
No,
not ghetto. This
no,
the impact of the mental state and the impact of collective trauma called pandemic
right.
is having people respond, or it is exposed of the state of wellness or lack of wellness of many, the need for care, deep care. These attacks are constant. Thank you. I personally grew up in New York City, riding the trains even by myself, starting at
Oh,
age 10.
please. I used to get on the train when I came to Staten Island, I got a car, but in Brooklyn I didn't have a car. And if I wanted to go to a party in the Bronx, I'd jump on that train and be on the train 3-4 o'clock in the morning and think nothing of it. Coming back to my apartment in Brooklyn,
Right.
I rode the trains.
Right.
And
So it
I
was
wasn't
just,
afraid to ride the trains.
and we weren't afraid, And this is interesting, Theodora, even in our neighborhoods, right? There might have been
Yeah.
those things, but what you and Teresa talked about is the collective community experience. And even that, right, when it comes to social emotional learning or trauma response or healing center care, one big thing that heals trauma is relationships, healthy relationships.
Yes.
And so those relationships and those bonds, as everybody's been reflecting or reflects on those times, is because they were, even with stuff going on, they were healing and healthy. They balanced out some things. So I want
Right.
to thank you, Theodore, for coming on. And I want to encourage you to make sure you keep fostering and loving and nurturing yourself, your friends as well, with the bonds in community, and be very creative. We're going to talk about the creative ways in a moment of how we do that then and now. So thank you very much, Theodora. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank
Y'all,
you.
this is interesting. I asked Theodora that because last couple of weeks I've been traveling and then on a journey with a friend who says she's doing apocalyptic training. Right now, this is funny. A friend of mine, she graduated from school, and while she's on the East Coast, she's driving and camping in different places on the East Coast. Right, so she's been camping and driving in Maryland and New Jersey and the Catskills and Vermont and Montreal. And I hopped on a portion of the ride, and it was amazing, right? And we camped overnight in the Catskills and in the creeks and everything, and it's real cool. And she was on her way to Newark, so I was like, yeah, let me get a ride with you from Vermont. And so we get to Newark, and I noticed there was such a change in the car. She, all of a sudden, her driving switched. We were looking for parking so I could unload the car. And she was like, no. Her voice changed. The cadence changed. And I was like, what's going on with her? What's she going through? And we had to find parking and keep looking around. And she was nervous and missed it. I'm telling her to go this way, and she going the opposite way. And I said, uh-oh, this person is having some anxiety right now. right? And I'm learning about co-regulating. Now, I didn't have to add to it. When you love and care about people, you care enough to notice their trigger to not add to their trigger. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted her to relax. And I waited and we unpacked the car and she said, I should cover up the stuff in the trunk. And I said, no, you good. And she covered up anyway. I said, that's what she needed to do to feel comfortable. That's her business, right? But then I realized she's responding to my neighborhood. Now, I live in the business district of downtown Newark. I do not relate or identify this as a hood, but it showed me someone from a rural area does. And now we have been to other urban areas and she didn't respond like that. And then this past week, she got lost outside of Albany. And she said, oh my goodness, there were so many abandoned buildings. I've never seen that many abandoned buildings. And I just knew I wasn't in a good place. And there were gangs of people outside. I let her get that out. And then I had to come back to her and I said, hey, I don't know if you noticed, but when you described the neighborhood you were driving through while you were lost, you said gangs of people. Now, I want to make sure you're aware that groups of people standing around is different than gangs. And that using that term gangs with some groups of people may imply some things you got to look into. What am I talking about? It was a teachable moment, somebody I love and care about, but somebody, come on, what am I talking about? Maria? Thank you, Maria, for coming in the brave space. What's up, Braveheart? Maria, where you from and where are you at? I think I seen your hand up unless that was a mistake.
I was scrolling looking to see if I saw another hand go up, but I was actually smirking and laughing about the scenario and her describing, all these abandoned buildings and there were gangs of people outside and everything like that. And that word gang, like, it's not a group of people outside. There's a difference. Like a gang has a different connotation versus a group of people, because a group of people can be together and not be a gang. There's certain things that have to happen in order for you to be classified as a gang. But I'm laughing because I described where I was from. I grew up in Brooklyn, right where the intersection of Crown Heights, Prospect Heights, and Bed-Stuy meet. And so I could walk in any direction and end up in a different hood, but I always knew, which side I was on and everything like that. And when I was a teenager, I lived upstate in like maybe 20, 30 miles outside of Syracuse. And it was very rural. Like down the road, there was dairy farms and all this other stuff. To me, the empty streets or whatever was what was scary, because if something happened, couldn't nobody hear me scream. So if I'm driving and I end up someplace desolate looking where there aren't other people around, now I'm scared. My spidey senses are tingling and like, what was that over there and all this other stuff. It's different. It's a different mentality because my spidey senses go off because it's too quiet, because something don't look, but nah. She had too many people on the street and got shook. So that we're not from the same hood.
We not from the same hood. And our situational awareness, right? Because this person, I'm telling you, I was in 3 different forests with this person. This person could navigate a forest and is traveling as a female body on their own, camping and sleeping. So I didn't know this person wasn't still safe coming on my block in a business district of downtown Newark, New Jersey. But see, perception becomes people's reality. And like I told her, there might be some race stuff to look into. Because when we went right to Livingston, to the hiking store, my experience in Livingston and my experience in a very specific part of New York, upstate New York, and then another experience in Vermont, I told her those weren't safe for me with the people that were in those shops, though it was rural. And she was not aware of the interactions I was having. I said, yeah, that gentleman, I said, hey, good morning, said nothing to me. But when you and I were standing together, walked right over to you, say, hey, how you doing? Looked at me. That was intentional. Right? And we kept having those incidents because we were two different races. So people thought to me, she looks racially ambiguous, meaning I wouldn't necessarily assume, right? But people, they knew something I didn't know. And we had two very different experiences. So I would go to a ghetto or places that often call themselves a hood and feel really comfortable versus going, let's say where Jackie lives, because we did stop by Jackie's backyard too. And I said, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. Her neighbor's gonna see us and be like, what they doing there? What they up to? Right? Because even her neighborhood is very diverse. But in that area outside of that, I might get questioned. First of all, with this hat on and no earrings, I look like a Black man. So sometimes I have experiences what brothers go through when ride while Black, right? And so the experience in our hoods for her in a rural area and in forest is safe. But she said, this is the first time I felt like I didn't belong because there was a club party going on in the park around the corner. So there was tons of people. And she noticed there weren't that many white people, if any. And so we had a reverse experience. It was so interesting. And she came the next time and she parked her car at 3 o'clock in the morning, walked down this block like nobody business. And that's how I wanted her to feel comfortable in my home and know she was safe. But there's certain things people can't do or say to make you safe. Your belief, what you've been taught, learned, or know could affect your belief and understanding of being safe. Tracy Ann, I see your hand up. Thank you for that share, Tiffany. Thank you for that share. We're going to go into the chat after Tracy Ann, just see what we're working with today. And then we're going to play a game. We're going to play some games. What up, Tracy?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.
So when you were telling the story, I was rolling because I was thinking about if you listen to Breakfast Club,
Yes.
and they say, guess what? Look, can we guess what race this is? I was thinking, like, is your friend white? That's what I was thinking when you were talking. I was like, either she's white or she's not Black, but you don't. I don't know. So that was one of the first questions I wanted to ask.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, is your friend white?
Yep, that's my white sister. That's my white sister.
I'm sorry.
This is our first time meeting and spending space in the pandemic too. So we've never been in the same physical space. She lives in Sacramento, you know. Right. I'm going to her hood. I'm gonna go to Sacramento and I'm gonna walk them streets over there and find out what I find out. Yeah, that's funny, Tracy.
So I'm not. It's no shade. It's just that's what I was thinking. And the next thing I was gonna say is that I grew up in Flatbush, Brooklyn, but I've lived in Canarsie. I've lived in I've lived in Prospect Heights. I've lived in Sheepshead Bay. I've lived in East Flatbush. I live in Bed-Stuy now. I've lived in East New York. So I've lived in various parts of Brooklyn. And the nicest neighborhood, well, quote unquote, the nicest neighborhood was in Sheepshead, like on the water. And I was more afraid there than in East New York, in any other neighborhood. And because of the things that I saw.
Okay, all right, let's go to the 5 senses, Tracy. What did you see? Thank you for being honest and very courageous about your fear. A lot of times we're taught not to say we're scared, or at least I know I was taught not to say or show fear. So it's very powerful that you're willing to be human and admit that and share that. So what did you see? What do you see that scares
I'll be honest.
or creates fear?
So Hasidic Jews would roam that neighborhood at night because I think they were looking for prostitutes, to keep it 100. Even though it's a upscale neighborhood, it's all condos and it's on the water. So for me, I remember one night I saw this. I would be walking from the bus stop, which was 4 blocks, like down. I had to walk 4 long blocks down to where I lived. It was on Emmons Avenue. And I remember one time I would always walk in the middle of the street. One time I seen this Jewish guy, he was in a minivan and he had on gloves and he just kept circling the block. And it was just that is the type of things I had to deal with as a Black woman walking in a majority white neighborhood. I had to deal with people automatically assuming that I'm a prostitute or I'm in that area, and I'm actually going home. I'm in that area because basically I'm selling myself. And also it's the way I want to say people from other races move. So when you talk about situational awareness, it's true because like if I see a bunch of guys in front of a corner store in the hood, that doesn't concern me. You know, you assess, see what's up, and be able. I'm used to that, but the way they would move out there, it was just very concerning to me because I guess even though I went to white schools, I guess like the way they move is kind of like suspect sometimes. And I may have not been aware of how they like when it may be a harmful situation there or not. But I
Yes,
always
thank
say
you,
this,
Tracy.
I am more.
I want to pause you right. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm complete after this. I am always like I live in a mixed neighborhood now, which I 100% prefer. But I'm always more. I always feel safer in the hood than I do in the, like you said, in the in the areas where it's nicer, quote unquote. And I'm complete. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. Don't go too far. Don't go too far. I love this
I
share. And thank you for asking that question, right, about my friend's background. That is the case. So there's two things I think that's important. She grew up in a rural area in California, and she's white, right? So rural is a factor. The coast, a different coast is a factor. And yes, her being white might be, in this case, is a factor. And in your case, the same thing, a little bit reversed though, right? So things I want to unpack here with your share, Tracy, is when it came to, you said being in a Black woman, right? So you got race and you got the sex, being a female body, right? And then you got nighttime. You even pointed out he had gloves on. Do you think you would have responded different if the person was in the car without gloves? You also said he was driving around, right? So these are some things that the mind says is potential danger, and right. And we want to feel free. How does one feel free and safe in that situation? What does safety look like in that situation? I just wonder that out loud. It's not a real question. So, Tracy, the interesting thing that you said to me, those are the things you saw. And then the thing you assume was like, yo, they might be looking for a sex worker, and you were mistaken as a sex worker. Do you think that was because you were Black or because you were a woman? Both? What do you think, Tracy?
It's definitely because the number one assumption I feel like in a conversation is like in a conversation like this is what did I have on, and it definitely was just because I was a Black woman in that neighborhood. It wasn't it wasn't what I had on. It was definitely just coming from work, jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But
and this is interesting. Now, Tracy, I didn't even ask about what you had on because I'm of the belief, like my father taught me, is my father one day said, if you walking down the street naked, nobody's supposed to touch you. Period. Right.
It's
so I got that.
That's true.
So I never said what you had on because I'm not going to imply that's what causes someone to be attacked. I don't want to do that to us as female bodies. But again, you definitely said as a woman, right? And because that was real for you, right? Or we have these perceptions and this being placed on us, right? And then also the fact that you were Black, you think is a factor. If you did you see white women or women who you can't tell whose race? Do you think they go through that same situation in that particular neighborhood?
So I didn't know I didn't know that was the thought process until I was at the time, I had the apartment and my boyfriend was staying with me, but we started to learn it as time progressed. Like I remember one time it was like New Year's and we were in Dunkin' Donuts, like after a club night. It was just me and my homegirl. And I'm standing in a line and we're about to order some food. And the white guy behind says, "Oh, they're prostitutes." And I was like, wait, what? So that's when I realized like, oh, that's what's going on. And then I remember my ex at the time, he had a really nice car and he was coming into the building and they used to always say, "Oh, you must be a rapper," or "What do you do for a living?"
Wow.
And then one time he was coming, and then one time he was coming from the pizza shop with a pizza box and they were like, "Oh, where are you delivering that pizza?" It was like a lot of things like that, like we had to deal with. And I was like, this is like mind blowing. Like I've never like been in a situation where I felt so uncomfortable and
that's important. The discomfort, because that's your home. And I'm of the belief that home
shouldn't feel like that.
we want home and the home environment to be a loving space where we can rest, and relax and be taken care of, and again, feel safe, or at least not perceive any harm. And so in this case, because I love this, looking at quote unquote hoods and that are related to ghettos, people think crime and poverty sometimes is the case where it comes to safety, and they are contributing factors. But in this case, that not being a ghetto, and yet there is still issues of safety depending on the body or the age, right? Or the other. Because what I hear in this is the cultural differences, right? You even pointed out that as how they moved, right? Which is a generalization, but your observation in your real situation or real, how they moved was different than how you learned people move in other places you lived. And some of that for us is how we were socialized. Age 0 through 8 sets up a lot of our social engagement. And so it's culture. The culture of our neighborhoods are different. What some do in some neighborhoods might be different right in another neighborhood. Now you lived, you pointed out at one point you were in a neighborhood with 3 different neighborhoods, right? And so what was there different culture in those places? Like me as somebody from the Bronx, I would say yes, Canarsie and East New York and Bed-Stuy, the cultures are a little different. But what would you say? You lived it. You Brooklyn all day, Tracy Ann. Even Sheep said they. Tracy Ann, what would you say? What would we see differently in those 3 neighborhoods? Are you able to come back on? I think we lost Tracy Ann for the moment. I still want to thank her for giving.
I'm
There
sorry.
you go.
I'm sorry. What did you say? I'm sorry. I was I'm at
When
work. That's why I couldn't come up with you. But go ahead.
Okay, no, I understand. You pointed out that one of the places you lived had 3 different corners. You would be in a different neighborhood.
No, that was the woman before me, I believe.
Oh, I'm
she
sorry.
said
I'm
that.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yep,
she said that. But it's okay.
Her.
She was from Brooklyn too.
I'm gonna let y'all get that Brooklyn thing off. Last week I had a lot of Brooklyn jokes. Today I'm gonna try to be easy on Brooklyn. That's just because I'm from the Bronx, and I like to have fun. We're of a certain age. There's no turf wars anywhere unless we own these places. I really don't think we should battle over it, but it's a lot of fun. Brooklyn get love. Brooklyn get love. All right, I'm gonna move into a game now. I thank everybody for sharing. It is 8 o'clock. Some people may need to transition, but if you can stay and play, please do so today. Again, if you need to go, you can check this out on Facebook later. Make sure you come back to Woo for show, and shout out if this is your first time on Woo. But let's get into some game time right now. I wanna kind of take that these are the people in your neighborhood song, and I want to move around somebody's neighborhood real quick. Can somebody come on right now? We're gonna go back, way back to your beginning. Let's get somebody we haven't heard from this morning, hopefully. And we're going to play and give a shout out to the hood. All right, we might need somebody we already heard from. Any volunteers?
I'm looking, I'm scrolling.
Oh, I see Abimbola.
Abimbola raise her hand.
Yes.
Abimbola. Come on, Abimbola.
Yes, peace, and blessings.
Peace. Good morning, Abimbola. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
All right, it's a little game time. So Abimbola, where are you from and where are you at?
Bed-Stuy, do or die.
Oh man,
Brooklyn's in the
the
house.
Brooklyn wave today. It's only Brooklyn in the house. Jackie, what we gonna do? Adam, what we gonna do?
But I'm living in Jonesboro, Georgia.
All right, Georgia.
21 years.
Beautiful. All right, home girl, what's up? So you can do this in either neighborhood. You can pick, what part of Georgia did you say?
Jonesboro, Georgia.
Okay, you can either put Jonesboro, Georgia, or you can pick Brooklyn. Either way, right? I want to ask you some questions. Actually, I want you to pick your time in Brooklyn. I want to do this with Brooklyn because, again, looking at our neighborhoods through our childhood eyes, it's very nostalgic. It brings back, even though we have incidents and memories and times that are not high vibrational, we're celebrating a lot of the hood right now. So we're going to do some fun things, right? So what part of Brooklyn are you from, Abimbola?
Bed-Stuy, do or die.
Oh, you said that. How could I forget? Oh my goodness, my Bronx brain. Okay, so look, Abimbola, who were the people in your neighborhood if you wanted to know what happened? What just happened up the block?
So that would be, I don't have to name them, but just describe them.
Describe
So-
them, yes.
So that would have been what we called back there the nosy old ladies.
The
That was
nosy
in
old
everybody's,
ladies.
they were in everybody's business. They'd be sitting in the window, knew everything that you did. The nosy
Yes, she
old
did.
lady. The
Yes,
elder.
the nosy old lady, aka the hood reporter. The hood
That's right.
reporter.
That's right.
Okay, Abimbola, if you needed something, who could you go to get what you need? They always got what somebody need, or they know where to go get it.
So that would have been well, I grew up on Gates Avenue between Clarkson and Irving. So we had the number runners.
The number runners.
The number runners. They knew everything. They knew where you can get whatever. The number runners.
The number runners. All right. If you needed somebody to do you a favor, who's that?
Those would have been my friends. My best
friends.
My friends.
Okay, what if the elders needed somebody to go do something for them real quick? Who's
that would have been us. My mother, we had to go and we had to ring. I remember Miss Lee, the older people. We had to go ring their bells and ask them if they needed something from the store. And we better not take any money from them.
That's right. And you
Mhm.
better bring back their what?
Their stuff, their salsa water, whatever
and
they
when it
need.
comes to the money, you better
bring
bring
their
back their what?
change.
You better bring back their change.
That's right.
Bring back their change. So running errands, right? The young people in the neighborhood would run the errands, and y'all were the messengers. We be the messengers out here, right?
That's right.
Now listen, if somebody was in trouble, where they go?
When somebody was in trouble, it's funny. Somebody was in trouble. Somebody was in trouble. They would come to my house, come to talk to my mother.
Safe house.
That's right. That's right.
Come talk to your mother. That's beautiful, right?
That's right.
Now, if somebody caused trouble, who gonna go see about
it? Hey, now let me say this. I came from a large family. There was 7 girls and 1 boy. So somebody mess with us, we go get our sisters, our siblings.
That's right. I'm going to go get my sister. I'm going to go get my brother. I'm going to go get my cousin. I'm going to go get my uncle. My aunt going to get you. My daddy going to come out here. Somebody else's family going to come out here, right?
That's right. That's right.
This is how we do in the hood. If somebody need to borrow something, let's say some sugar. Who got what you need?
Okay, well, I'm the wrong person because my mother didn't borrow, and she taught us you don't borrow. She had an account at the corner store. If you need something, you go across the street and tell Mr. Ralston you need it, and he put it on the book, and you get your sugar and you get that. We didn't borrow.
There it is. And listen, when he put it on the book, they call that, you got what at the store?
Credit.
You got credit. Y'all put it in the chat if you know what we're talking about. Abimbola. These were our cultural community ways of living.
That's right.
Do you think now we grew up, I assume, in a different time?
Oh yeah, because I'm 77.
Right? And I was born in 79. I'm 43. It didn't change. Do you think this still exists in neighborhoods nowadays in the hood now?
No, because it's a big disconnect.
When do you think it changed?
Well, when it changed is when people have moved out. People moved away. And people moved in that had different mindsets. Different, socializations.
Different socialization and different mindset. Some
Right.
may say, in addition to what we talked about last week with drugs, and it doesn't matter if it was the time when heroin was more rampant or when the brothers returned from war, right? That was a factor, or welfare and being able to get some assistance, but the requirements of sometimes a man not being in the house. So all of these things started to really change. Definitely the way Black families moved.
Right.
In
Right.
addition to that, but then you also had a different access, right? Where people did start working and earning more, the baby boomers, right?
Mm,
And redlining, meaning not being able to move to certain neighborhoods, it started to bend. Sometimes people could penetrate that and move out. Now, I say there was a bigger plan, which is what we're seeing right now. There was a plan for people to move out and neighborhoods to go down so they could buy it
that's
low
right.
and sell it high. It was a part
Urban
of
renewal was
urban
Black renewal.
renewal.
Urban
Yes,
renewal was Black removal.
Black, say that. Urban renewal was Black removal, gentrification,
Right.
rezoning, all of that. And so that whole, all of a sudden we could move out. I think it was a part of a big plan, a switch and bait, a hook and reel, right? And so also what I realized happened, Abimbola, and you tell me if you agree or disagree, but I think when we moved out, we also didn't have the modeling. We couldn't see people, right? I know I talked to some young people when I moved to Newark, New Jersey, from the riots in 1967. A lot of people don't know this. And my family moved here, I think, in 93. I left by 95 and went to college. And it was when I came back that I started getting to know Newark. And Newark is very different than where I grew up, and everybody thinks it's the same. But I go, nah, Bronx and Newark are different, but there are some similarities. That's why I was so comfortable, right? But now Newark had laid dormant for like 30 years, and people didn't know that. They didn't clean it up after the riots, Abimbola. I mean, and there's some powerhouses that have always been in Newark. We hear about the Harlem Renaissance, but listen, ain't nobody go to Harlem that didn't stop in Newark and East
Okay.
Orange. That's how significant Newark is. A chocolate city, still is to this day. Shout out to my mayor Baraka, son of Amiri Baraka and Amina Baraka. Black
That's right.
Power movement people, the Black arts movement, and the beauty of our people still is the foundation of this city. But guess what? All of the devastation and the impact of a city sitting and laying dormant for 30 years, you talking about generations of people who never were employed. Generations,
Wow.
right? You talking about the school system and the people. This is the first Black mayor in America, Mayor Gibson, was elected in Newark and wasn't having it. So they've been passing the torch and doing the work around here for a long time. And Raz Baraka is doing his best to make sure that people could stay here. Because one thing that's acknowledged is we want people to see people make it and come to and from home, right? And so when you hear stories, a lot of people say, yeah, well, young kids in the 80s wanted to be like the drug dealers because they was the one that had cars or money, or the girls, right? And there's another piece to that. They went to work and came back, or they stayed around the neighborhood.
That's
So
right.
unfortunately, when we moved out for safety purposes or bigger or different investments, having more space. I love what my sisters and my little brother always say, y'all got backyard and front yard. Y'all better have a good time. You better make your time. But that's that part in our neighborhood being so populated that we were on top of each other in a sense, And so going outside was also a response to don't be running up my bill in the house with the heat and you know what I mean? Or
That's right.
ain't no air condition with all of these people, so go outside. So people mistaking in urban areas, individuals being outside up to no good, when it's like actually a means to an end. First of all, it's hot in the house, right? It's hot in the house, and there's not a lot of space. So there's more space outside. Not to mention, we like each other. We are a relationship-based people a lot of time when we live in urban areas. And so in relationships, those are inside and outside, but we get outside and we get together. That's that collective. So we also continue the history of the African diaspora, no matter where we are, that really exists outside of America, big time, a village. And so when I asked you about who those people in your neighborhood, that's who's the village people. Who's the people in the village, right? Who's keeping watch? And those are significant things. But again, perception, people see that and think people hanging on the streets doing up to no good, sitting on the stoop, plotting and
But
planning, or gangs. And that ain't it. That's
right.
love.
So listen to this though. And
What's
this
up?
is what fast forward now, where I live in Jonesboro, I live in a subdivision. And
Mhm.
so we have the same, I can relate back when you were talking, it resonated because there's a small community, there's a 74 of us, there's a 55 and older community, and we all look out for each other.
Yeah.
We all the stuff, you know, when we had the blackout, I went over there to my neighbor and took her a lantern. And so we're able to recreate that. And what I realize now is some of the Caucasian people, this is what they have created and maintained. And it's only when I moved into this area, I realized what they maintained is what we had back in the day. So it's 65 degrees now. So I'm back in the same community setting where we can look out for each other. We can go get this and do things for each other. And so
I
it's
love that. I love that you have that. I love that you share that. I'm so glad that there is a senior living community, right? The emphasis on living as communal, because as I said early, it is relationships and community that helps us sustain our wellness. It's really important. That was a part of this pandemic that was challenging. And I remember Jackie said to me, right? She was the recruiter for me to come to wake up everybody. She said, you better get to know your neighbors. And I could tell you, I live in, and I'm looking around, you know, people don't know where I live. I don't tell people in Newark where I live. I love my people, but I always don't want nobody, no stress, no mess where I rest. So I usually don't tell nobody where I live. No stress, no rest where I rest. And therefore I learned, I'm guilty of one of these people that don't really interact with my neighbors. Now I live in was called the luxury high rise. I don't think it's luxury. I think it's Newark's luxury, but I know it's very nice and I appreciate it. And shout out to Sheikia on them, Queen Latifah, and people that are coming back to where they from and building these buildings, right? But I have to tell you, yes.
Purple, darling, lean back some. We can only see you from your mouth down. There you go.
Oh, okay.
See,
my bad.
That's how you know the conversation good. She leaned into it.
Right. When I went to go say where I live, I even looked around like that's that situational awareness from the Bronx. That has nothing to do with it. I don't need to do that, right? But no, I have a certain level of relationship and popularity. So I don't tell people where I live, so they will be coming to find me to ask me for stuff all the time. Right. That's just that. I'm different. Now I'm like, I don't want everybody coming to me. I want to go out to the community, but I don't want the community to come to my home. But when it comes to my home, I only know one of my neighbor's name. That's the one I share the wall with. And the other one, I don't know who that is. All of us on this floor, we don't know each other. Right? I don't know their names. They don't know my name. And we've been in the pandemic together. And Abimbola, so it was a challenge when Jackie said that to me. So I'm curious, it ain't where you from, it's where you at. Do we know the people where we at? And if y'all can put this in the chat, do you know your neighbors now? A lot of the conversation has been about the hood back then. Thank you, Tiffany. Do you know your neighbors now? And thank you again, Abimbola, for that share. I love it. Shout out to Jonesburg. I might have to, make some plans to move there when I get of age.
All right, so we have a couple of responses coming in the chat. I just want to give the 8:15 time check to you and let you know. So coming in the chat, Jacqueline says, I know many of them, but there are those that do not appear to want to know others. Theodora says, yes. Nigel says, I've been here 6 years. I'm slowly getting to know my neighbors. Cheryl Glenn says, yes, most of them, but not the newbies. They are not friendly. I have been in my neighborhood now 7 years. I know my downstairs neighbor very well. Next door neighbor, you know, the wife is friendly, the husband is not, but they have a son who's near my grandson's age. So maybe that's the connection, you know, a womanly type of thing. You know, the kids see each other and say hi, you know, because kids don't know, kids know better. Kids know when they see each other to say hi, adults get stush. But no, I don't know a lot of the people in my neighborhood or around the corner. I can describe them, be like the crazy old man that be in his bathrobe, and everybody know who I'll be talking about, but nobody knows what the crazy old man's name is.
Yes, I wonder, is it a sign of the times as these new urban areas are happening, y'all? I can tell you, I heard about it for a while and I was concerned. I was very selective. One, if I was gonna rent, I said I want to find a Black owned spot and somebody from Newark preferably. And I heard, yeah, and I'm happy that yes, this is one of the buildings in Newark. Shack Tower is mostly people of color and mostly Black, and that was so cool and comforting for me. Now, what was strange is for the first 6 months, only about 6 of us lived in this entire building. Right, I was the first person to actually come into the building, take the tour, and apply to the building. And even though it was only 6 of us, we hadn't seen each other. So this is almost like poltergeist at first, right? So you just could hear the elevator open and close, maybe hear the door, you know, but you never see anybody. I was like, yo, this is scarier than the Bronx. Right? But then after a while, we would see each other. And then I noticed something different. That's where I think Cheryl Glenn said the newbies, right? There's a new way of living. And they say live, work, and play. Right? The building designs and the urban designs now are you living and walking and right near your job and all of that. But people don't even speak. They don't speak to the concierge, the door people. They don't speak in the elevator. I know more of the dogs in the building than I do the people. When I say hi to people, they just start like trembling and shaking. And then I had to realize there's a different generation that I live amongst. So they socialize different. And I said, this is different. So it ain't personal. Again, you know, skin folk don't mean kin folk, but you know, I think I live in a highly introverted building. Jackie, what up, mama?
Yeah, I think that I don't know what's going on, but I've noticed that the conversation is I have a lot of anxiety. That was not something that we said in my time coming up, like in the 80s and the 70s. We weren't walking around talking about, I got anxiety, I got this, I got that. And I noticed that people are very jumpy and it's just very tense a lot of times. Not where I'm at right now, but I noticed that in the city. And then I think it has a lot to do, excuse me, I think it has a lot to do with the crime that's happening, especially when you're living on top of each other like that. And the way they place people, because some people have been in shelters or been displaced and they place them all the way in another borough sometimes. And that breaks up families, communities, etc. So I don't know if that's by accident.
Yes, you know? So the collective is interrupted, right? The thing about being in a city that actually is knocking down the projects, like being in New York, I've never seen an abandoned project, right? I've never seen an abandoned project anywhere except in Newark, New Jersey. And that was in the 90s and now it's on and going on. And so when they knock down the projects, that's one of the things is the collective information of the people, the historical knowledge and the culture, right? Culture is not race. Sometimes we collapse culture and race, but the shared practices, principles, beliefs, and values of a people. And so they get moved or displaced. And I love what Abimbola's example though, and she was able to find a community and they recreated it, but they come from a time of that. So Jackie, is it also the time that people, because again, I don't know the people in my building, they from all over the country and I'm just like, hey, good morning. Is it, what is it?
I saw a change. I saw a change in the Bronx, and that's what made me leave the Bronx. I saw a change the way it was, because when we were coming up, we were taught to be respectful of elders, and we were taught to be respectful of each other in that way. And you protected your building, your family, your people in your block and your hood, whatever the case is. You looked out for them, they looked out for you. I saw a deterioration of that that wasn't happening. I saw predatory behavior happening, you know, old ladies getting robbed, stuff like that. And people say, oh, the gangs this, the gangs that. The gangs were the ones that stopped that from happening, especially in the 70s when the heroin was happening. It was like, yo, you're not doing that, dude. That's Miss Brown. You ain't touching Miss Brown. That, you know, they were like that. And it's different now. It's really different. And these kids, it's like young kids, and they're, you know, from 13 through 17 out there killing each other, just shooting willy-nilly. I said to
You know,
the
I
other day,
noticed that.
y'all need to teach these fools how to shoot, because they shooting all over the place and killing innocent people. If you're gonna be out there shooting somebody, hit your target.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm not
learn.
advocating gun violence, anything like that, but don't just be, I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Right.
That
Well,
could
it's
be your
training.
mother, your
What you're saying
grandmother,
is,
whoever.
yeah, what you're saying is you're hitting on a couple of things. There's some breakdown, and I think I just saw it in the chat. Maybe some generation. Again, I equate it to like the impact of crack, right? Because crack, those children who grew up in that time, these are their children. There's a disconnect and a rumbling that the community had, and we were trying to still get our stuff together, and the kids were watching. And there's something, I think it might be biblical, when you're young, don't listen to you in society, you're in trouble. And there became a time where we stopped connecting and engaging with young people, and we became scared of young people. So a lot of time as a generation rapper gapper, I like to talk to both generations, you know, both generations, to look out for each other, but most importantly, what's in the way? The question is, what's in the way? What happened? Yes. And there's Dr. Ginwright, who's done some amazing work on trauma-informed response, right? Instead of what's wrong with you, community, I'm going to ask us to think about what happened. What happened to you? When we think of what's wrong, we create more of a disconnect and a distance and a resistance. But what happened to you is a lean into empathy and compassion and curiosity. That's an opening. And I still think we got to do that with young people. But here's the other part that's hard, right? The young people related to us. So it's got to start at home. One reason I stopped going out to the big community meetings is because I kind of did a little bit of a chin check with myself and said, yo, I'm looking at 50 people in this room. We talking about what the community need, what the community need, what the community need. We the community. The community is made up of our families. If all 50 of us go home and work with our families, then the community will be different. So the young people that we're talking about are our young people. I know cousins, siblings, right? That's the young people we talking about.
You know what, Kia?
Somebody that, yes.
Yeah, there's a saying, and I was looking it up to make sure I had it right. The child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And I used to keep that on my Facebook page because that's real.
That's real. And so when we did all this nostalgic talking, I know last week is a lot more fun, but people asked me to pick it up from this, right? Is embracing the young people. We lost that a little bit when we were trying to figure out and get ourselves together during the epidemic, because also what came with crack being placed strategically in our community were guns. There was a store in Brooklyn, Harriet's Alter Ego, one of my favorite boutiques and shops. Please support Black businesses, right? At Harriet's Alter Ego, there was a t-shirt. It says, guns are not made in the ghetto. That's so important, right? That's a different workshop to talk about gun license and training, because that licenses have gone up a lot since the pandemic. People are getting there at arms, but I know I just seen the Woman King, and it reminded me of the collective approach for people of color in the diaspora was warrior, not soldier, warrior, right? So I want to pause there. Now, Jackie, you may be the person I go to with this, because I got another game, and then we're going to go into some fun time with some music in a moment, right? Jackie, let's talk about your neighborhood. Where you from?
I'm from The View. I'm from Soundview.
The View. I'm from The View. I know that, everybody, the nicknames of our neighborhoods, right? So, Jackie, if I was coming by your neighborhood, right? First of all, what was the neighborhood school? High school or junior high school? Neighborhood school.
Oh, well, there was PS 107. We had PS 100. We had Stevenson High School, junior high school, 125. Well, 125 was someplace else. I forgot the other one. There was
All right,
another.
I asked that because school is a part of the culture,
Right.
right? Whether we're in rural, suburban, or urban, that's the place where all of the different neighborhoods come together. Okay, Jackie, so if I'm somebody new at your school and we cool, I'm sitting at the cafeteria and you having a sleepover at your house, and you invite me to come to your house because we're gonna go to a party. So it's just better to come to your house, spend the night, and then we're gonna go to the party, right? Okay. Here's some of the things I want you to take heed of in your hood. I want you to tell me this, right? Don't go where?
Don't go down to the park after dark. Don't go to Soundview Park after dark.
Okay.
Don't go over there.
Don't
go over
okay.
in the project. Don't go over to the project because we lived in Sackworm, which was considered a private building, but now it's part of the project. But it's like, don't go to Soundview. My mother used to tell us, don't y'all go through Monroe Project. Don't. And I lived in Monroe as a teenager, as a late teen. But she was like, don't go in there. Don't go to the Castle Hill, because you couldn't go in other neighborhoods either. So if you were from Soundview, you wasn't going to Bronx River. And if you were in Bronx River, you wasn't going to Castle Hill. Okay, you just wasn't doing that because you weren't recognized. Nobody knew you. What you doing over here?
Lil' Kim has a song called Put Your Lighter Up, and she talks about that. You better say who you know when you go to that hood. You better say who you know if you go walk to that hood.
They would ask,
back in the day,
like,
right?
who you coming here to see? They want to know. That's how
I
it
gotta
was.
remember to talk about invisible gates in a moment, invisible gated communities. But I want to stay on this question. So, Jackie, I'm at your house for the sleepover. Don't touch what?
Don't touch nothing in my mother's room. Can't go in there.
Don't go in my mother's room. Don't touch nothing in my mother's room. Okay, we walking outside. Don't look.
Yeah, don't look at I can't remember that person. We had a person in the hood that if you looked at her, she would go off on you. So you're like, don't look at her, just keep walking. She was mentally ill. She was mentally ill.
Yep. Bless her and her family. Now don't say.
Don't say. I don't know. We didn't have a lot of limits.
All right. Now you gotta meet.
Oh no, you couldn't say Bed-Stuy do or die. You better not say that.
Better not. Y'all hear that? Better not say that. Uh-oh, Abimbola. Uh-oh. Okay. You gotta meet. Who do I have to meet?
Oh, you gotta meet the Gambles.
Gotta meet the Gambles. Y'all had a Gambles? We had a Gamble. My family from Patterson.
The whole family, 16 children. The Gambles was funny.
Wow, we had big Gambles.
Comedians.
Put it in the chat if you had a Gamble community, family in your neighborhood. Okay. And then Jackie, you gotta go see what? What do I have to go see in your hood?
I'm thinking back, girl. I don't.
And y'all can answer this in the chat and on Facebook too.
Oh yeah, I gotta go check out the parties at 123. You gotta go.
Oh yeah. Okay, and Jackie, we say blank meaning what? What's a term in y'all hood y'all use that's very local?
I can't think of anything here. I can't. Purple.
That's fine. That's fine. You can put it in the chat if it comes to you. Thank you for playing. It's where you at. Thank you for that, Jackie. Hey Tiffany, I want to just take a moment before I go to this last game. Let people know it's 8:30. If you need to transition off, if you're able to stay on, we're going to be on for 15 minutes. We're going to look at some slides and just and talk about love and some documenting culture. And then we're going to play a game where we're going to finish that line with songs that talk about different neighborhoods. So thank you again for being us. If you got to go, Tiffany, any check-in, anything happening in the chat or on Facebook?
Oh yeah, there's a lot happening in the chat. So first of all, Jackie, do a dive Bed-Stuy. I don't know what you're talking about. Spike put us on the map. So here we had Nigel said, I had to warm my friends up when they came to my house. Don't curse or use any slang. Cheryl said the same thing. Don't say a curse. Don't go across that street. Z said those Gamble families are all probably related. We know that probably they came from the same plantation.
Yep.
You know what that mean there.
Yep.
Let's see what else we got going on in here. Nigel said, I live in a lovely subdivision that I choose for the county and school district. There are not many of us, but there is a group of 50 Black women in my community. We created an alliance and we make it a point to look out for one another and our kids. My immediate neighbor at first were distant, but we are slowly becoming friendly and neighborly. I think that's because our kids go to the same schools. Some of us work from home and we come out at the same time when we lose power. My closest neighbor and I became more neighborly when they got a dog. He then approached me for suggestions because I had dogs. So somebody said similar interests. What else we got going on here? So
That's so funny and so real.
I'm gonna have to send you this chat. It's real going on in this chat.
It's real
We're talking
because
about
it's important we
latchkey
rep our hood. Latchkey kids, shout out to latchkey kids. At those times, my partner's son is 10. We were like looking up. We were like, man, when we were 10, please, we'd be in the house by ourselves. She's an older sibling. I'm a younger. She's like, man, we had to do everything. And I said, you know, depending on different neighborhoods and a different time, that's not the case anymore. But now I think back, I said, yo, I was 10 years old taking the trains by myself in the Bronx. What? So I can't apply my 10-year-old to his 10-year-old, right? He lives in West Orange, New Jersey in a real cool subdivision. But I noticed that children and dogs become one of the initial reasons neighbors may talk, because I don't have either in my house. But when I'm in my partner's neighborhood, which is in West Orange, I know all of the dogs over there. I know all of the dog owners because I'm always sitting on the porch. And all of the dog owners stop by, all of the dogs of my friends, they stop by and see me. So then their owners gotta talk to me. But let me tell you, when them dogs weren't in their head, they were not talking to me. And there's not a lot of us around there, but I would say the pandemic was the bond. The pandemic made the difference, and they have outdoor lawn space that's huge that they all share. So people will bring out their chairs. The teenagers in that neighborhood, which I'm so proud of, the teenagers made a 1-week summer camp for the younger kids in the first summer of the pandemic, where they took tarp and dish detergent and the running hose and made them a slip and slide. Right? They were creating what they had at home, and they made sure the younger ones, well, mind you, y'all, there were only 5 younger ones, but the families made sure those 5 younger ones' lives was set up to go to that 1-week camp, because that's an example of young people using what they have, making the difference for others. So I love that. That was really, really cool. I want to go into something now, and I'm not sure how to play it, friends, but I got this idea last week when I knew I was coming back, to make sure we do some music, because music can be a reflection of the sign of the times, but also what's going on in our neighborhood, right? So one of the songs I mentioned are "These Are the People in Your Neighborhood," And I grew up with Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day in this neighborhood, would you be mine? So those songs made a big impression on me. I think of that Mr. Rogers song all of the time when it comes to my neighbors. So even if they don't speak to me, I'm definitely happy to pick something up, help somebody. Sometimes the gesture of holding the elevator, if you know somebody coming, hold the elevator. Well, if you live in a place where you feel safe.
Sing that song to them when you see them. See what happens. Just sing the song.
I will, and I'll say the introverted response. I'll never know what's going on the inside. I won't know. But so I talk to the dogs, and I hold the door just as a gesture of kindness. Because my point is, I have to be responsible for what my morals, my beliefs are, right? I don't have to be a reaction to them. I don't know what they were taught, what they value. So just integrity for me to honor. But I'll start singing that, and then I'll be the crazy woman. That's cool. Jackie's setting me up. All right, y'all. But speaking of songs, right? We're going to play a little Finish That Line. Now, we can play this where we raise our hands and finish that line, or you could just take your microphones off if your background is not a problem. Even if it is, make some noise. and take the mics off, which is really how I want to play it, and you just finish the line. If there's multiple people that finish the line, guess what? That's even better. That's even more of a good time. So again, I'm going to say the line in this song, and if you know it, turn your mic on and finish the line. And you are welcome to keep your mics on for this part of the song, all right? It's going to sound chaotic and crazy, but it's going to be fun and make us laugh, just like the hood. All right, so the first song, Diamond in the Back, Sunroof Top,
Taking the scene with the gangster lean.
Ooh.
Ooh. You may not. Right?
My niece asked me what I'm singing.
Okay. I play because there's no place I can go. It's the only way I know.
I don't know that one.
Either.
Cheryl, you know
That's
that one? Anybody?
Street Life.
Yes. Street Life.
It's like it's the only way I got. Okay, I wasn't getting it.
Sing it. See, I was saying it. I wasn't singing. I was saying, y'all. Okay. You grew up riding the subway, running with people, up in Broadway. You're no tramp, but you're no lady. Talking that street talk, your heart and soul of New York.
New York City girl. 25.
Sing it.
Street life.
Your father's over here telling me the answer.
I'm a native New Yorker.
Yeah.
You should know the score by now.
Oh
yeah.
You gotta sing that. You can't be saying those words. You know, we gotta get.
I'm trying to see if you know. Okay, here's another one. Right? Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge.
Trying
I'm
not to
trying
lose my
not
head.
to lose my head. It's just a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder why I keep going under.
Oh, that was the best. What was that? That was great.
Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, isn't that?
Yeah, but I'm talking about somebody on Woo, honey. They did that. This is fun, y'all. This is fun. Okay. Manhattan keeps on making it. Brooklyn keeps on taking it. Bronx keeps creating it.
Just be ruling. I don't remember the rest of it. Oh
And
my God, my
Queens
daddy
keep
gonna be
on
so mad.
Faking it.
Anybody know that song?
S1, KR.
KRS-One, the bridge is
KRS-One.
over.
That's right, Adam. KRS-One, the bridge is over. All right. Okay. This place knows how to party. Yeah, this place knows how to party. In the city.
New York City.
City of Compton.
California, your father said.
Shake it, baby. Shake it. That's right. California love. Woo! I love that. Okay, I'm going back to
Cali.
I'm going back to Cali. Nah, I don't think so. Okay. Blank, where that booty at? Whoop, there it is. What's the place?
Oh my God, they just had a Jello commercial or something.
95 South.
95 South, and where they talking about? What place they talking about, Adam? Anybody know? Miami, where that booty
right.
at?
Florida.
Ooh, there it is. Okay. Listen, I don't want to have all of the fun. Is there anybody else that has a song about a region or a neighborhood that they want to share and play?
All I know is South Bronx. South Bronx.
I was waiting for that one, Jackie. I was going to drop that at the end.
Wait, but wasn't the response kill that noise?
I don't know that one. Adam, was you gonna say something? Come on, Brooklyn's gonna start in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna
Adam,
share
you got a
this one
song for
song.
us?
Yeah, it's called Me and You. Your mama and your
Your mama and your
cousin too.
cousin too. Rolling down the steps on something in the Cadillac goes. I know that one. Anybody else know that one besides me and Adam?
Yes.
Who's that?
Sister,
Yeah,
I
sister.
I know them, but I was never one of those people that learned lyrics. I could just nod my head, and then it will be like one or two parts of the song that I would know, maybe 3 words. And when that part came on, like let's say it was like, "And go
You know that
dance,"
line?
that's when I would get loud. That's it.
That's
So,
right. Hey, Adam, do you want to come on and tell them who that is and what song that is?
Oh, the song that I just recite.
Yes.
Oh, it's called Outcast Elevators.
Elevators representing the ATL Outcast.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. There's a song. I don't think too many people gonna know this one, but this for come on and raise up, take your shirt off, twist it around your head, spin it like a helicopter.
North Carolina, South
Petey Pablo.
Carolina, Petey
Petey
Pablo.
Pablo, North
Breaks up.
Carolina. That's right. Okay, y'all. Where, if we wanted to hear some real good second line music, where would we go?
Harlan.
You said Harlem.
WLIB.
WLIB. I love New Yorkers. Everything is come back to New Yorkers.
Ooh, okay, something just came
The
in my head.
home of jazz besides Harlem. Where do we have the foundation of jazz in America?
Louisiana?
Louisiana.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Yes. What else? We got to get around. Okay. If I wanted to hear, where was house music originated? Where was house music originated?
DC?
I'm gonna say New York.
Of course, because you're New York. New York is everything started in New York. No, we don't do everything.
No, I thought it was DC.
Not DC. Nope. House music comes
DC is
from
go-go
a
music.
place. What
Jamaica?
you say, Adam?
I said DC, that's go-go music.
Yep, we
Go-go
was gonna go
music.
there. If you didn't know, go-go was next, Adam. Yep, go-go was next. That's what's up. Now, house music is literally, there was a club called The House in Chicago.
Wow. Okay.
House
Gotcha.
music originated in Chicago or is based upon that place called House. Now, what are the other two places that have music really similar to Chicago? I live in one of them.
Jersey.
Jersey club music, Chicago house, and then the other one, the other cities. Baltimore. These three places, club and house music. Now, New York, we have house. New Jersey, we have club. Absolutely. Now, there's a certain style of dance that comes out of Chicago as well, and that dance is the
Chicago two-step.
the Stephen. Absolutely. Now, don't forget, there's another place that's really popular and known for the dance, the hustle, and that place would be
New York City.
That's New York.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I moved out of New York.
Is it Detroit?
We always do that. That's what we always do. No,
Philadelphia.
No,
Nice.
a
Detroit.
certain hustle. Yes, Detroit hustle, baby. My Detroit players. Hey, shout out to Biggie Smalls. The really cool thing is we have music and dance that comes from all around the world. And music is one way we've gotten to travel and go into each other's house. Now, I'm going to give this song from the 80s. And this was something that hip hop also helped me with. I was able to pass my third grade test when I had to list 5 countries in Africa. This song, AFRICA. Angola, Soweto, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Zambia, Mozambique, and Botswana. So let us speak about the motherland. Tiffany, I see you saying that, Jay. You remember that, Jay?
Yes.
In the 80s.
Yeah, my dad was a DJ back in the day, so we always had music playing in the background. He'd be mad I got some of these wrong.
Yo, I say, hey, it's a little purple pop quiz. I do it to students all of the time. I gotta do it to the older people. Okay. Since so much New Yorkers are on the call, I got to do this real quick.
Who did that?
Where
song?
was Stetsasonic? I'm sorry, the group was Stetsasonic. They also had a popular song called Talking All That Jazz, and they combined jazz and hip hop, boom bap, and great lyrics for a long time. Producer Prince Paul went on to produce all over hip hop. So many things people don't know Prince Paul went on to do. But Stetsasonic was a great group. And I definitely say check out that song. It's called Africa. It's called Africa. And it helped me with my test that day. Got the bonus question. All right. So another question that comes to mind. This might be New York based question right here. Or it is New York based, but unless you traveled during this time. What the radio station, I believe it was WBLS or KISS, used to broadcast live on Saturday night in the 80s from this popular adult nightclub. And they used to say, Saturday night, live, Saturday night. Anybody know?
I don't know. Was it The Shadow?
No, that was later on. That was in the 90s. What you say? What was the second one?
Bentley's.
Yes, Bentley's live Saturday night. Bentley's live Saturday night. So if I wanted to go to the club, I turned on the radio in my room. That's it, because I couldn't go to the club. What about skating rings? Were there people here that went to skating rings?
Yeah. Empire.
Don't start.
If you from Brooklyn, you went to Empire. And if you
Empire.
from Queens, you went to Skate Key.
You went to
Or
Skate
Key
or Skate
or
Palace.
Skate Key. Yep, Skate Palace, and I forget it's called something City in Newark. Back in the day, Skate 22. But skating rings are a big part of our culture as well, where we get together from the different neighborhoods, right? For sure, when we had that time. Another song, Doing It in the Park, doing it after dark.
Oh yeah,
And where?
Rock Creek,
oh yeah,
Rock Creek Park.
Rock Creek
Rock
Park.
Creek Park. Rock Creek
Blackbirds.
Park. I love that. I love that, y'all. Well, thank you. Oh, wait. I can't finish without giving a shout out to this other place. It's a New York place as well. You love the story again and again about how it got started way back when. The monument is right in your face. Sit and listen for a while and name of this place.
Oh,
Anybody know that? See, KRS-One South Bronx was in response to that song.
Oh, the
by
bridge?
the Juice Crew. The Bridge. MC Shan
Shan.
talking about Queensbridge. Queensbridge. Bridge. Queensbridge is the largest project in the world. The largest project in the world. Shout out from all of the people. And then, yes, South Bronx, South Bronx, we got that off. That's all I'm going to say. Matt keeps on making it. Brooklyn keep on taking it. Bronx keep creating it. I can't say that about Queens. That's not nice. But Queens keep on thinking I'll say it because it's a song. All right, Adam.
I mean, I thought about MC Shan and KRS-One and how big they could have been if it weren't for that battle rap.
Talk about that. Talk about that.
Because I feel like if KRS-One and MC Shan would have worked together, they could have created multiple albums like it was going out of style.
They could. People went on to monopolize the battle, right? Like even if they were from different places. So it's been normal to battle, but it more or less silenced things instead of elevated things. Absolutely. Exactly. The epic recording of Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z being in the same place rapping is where we got that. Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? That was actually a live show. A lot of people don't know that's a live show. And then also the beef between the two Queens brothers, Ja Rule and 50 Cent. They monopolized that. Some of these things are questionably orchestrated intentionally to sell more albums, right? They were on the top of magazines. So at that time in the early 80s, shout out to the pioneers and the early contributors, the battle in the 80s reflected the battle of the 70s in the cipher of building skills and coming with your sharpest and a collective movement versus the productive, the industry and the monopolizing that happened later on. But it is on the foundation of that exchange called the cipher. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
That was how it was. The parties were always like that. We went there to see y'all call them battle rappers or whatever. That was just rap because we didn't call it hip hop, but it was rap. And
it was just rap.
It's my rap. And you would have beat boys from this neighborhood, from that neighborhood competing. It was a competition, but it was all in fun. And, we might call out your mama, it's played in the dozens with rap.
It's playing the dozens or what they call roasting. Yes. And it went on to create an industry that in a few months we'll be celebrating 50 years of hip hop next year. And in 2024, you will see breakdancing in the Olympics. So that competition will now be on a world stage. For the first time, breakdancing is an Olympic competition. All right, for
Yeah.
men, right? So again, it ain't where we from, it's where we at, right, Adam? I'm Team USA. I'm voting for
Exactly.
USA, but I know Japan and France are going to bring it, y'all. Watch what I say. All right, y'all. We are at the point where it is time to pause and transition. I thank you for your generosity and being on. I thank you for encouraging a part 2 of this jam. Continue to jam, continue to rock on, continue to remember and meet the people in your neighborhood, cause, create community, collective movements, love, happiness, and fun, whatever it's like. And the good times. Make sure you have story time and good times, just like the show. At home with your folks. Exchange these stories with young people and ask them about the games that they play. Nowadays, even if it's on the internet, whatever, they're creating and connecting with their other peers in different ways. But the only way we can exchange is to have a conversation. I appreciate that we did that today. So represent and shout out to everybody's hood and everybody that was here today. Again, I'm your Generation Gapper rapper, Purple, Sheikia Shaniqua Norris. I appreciate your time, space, and listening. Thank you. And if you, Tiffany, we're going to go straight to the other slides. Well, you know what? No, I can't do that. Let's show some love with the photos of the slides I created to reflect some of the times. And then this is how we're going to go out right here.
All right, they're loading right now. So as soon as they come up, I'm gonna hit the screen share. If anybody wants to say how this session made them feel, what they're feeling
that's great.
right now in this moment, go ahead, drop it in the chat, come off mute while my computer does what it has to do.
Yes, anybody want to reflect on this while we're pulling up the slides? I would love to hear from some people, maybe who we haven't heard from.
Great morning, everyone. This is Andrea. I'm on my way to work, but I was loving it. I was loving everything. Even though I'm from a different country, my growing up was a little, different, but it's all cool. I was just loving all the stuff coming in. The fun, the laughter.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And which country are you from?
I'm from Guyana, South America.
Is there a Guyanese song or moment or thing you want to share about your times in Guyana?
Oh my God, so many things I can pull from. We used to sing this song. Let me see if I can. Cha la 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 la, there's a brown girl in the ring. Cha la 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 la.
Yes.
Sugar and I love spice. So, I may be a little off in my tune, but it's certainly. But that's one of the.
You're right on tune when it comes to love. Right on tune when it comes to love. Thank you for sharing that with us. I forgot to do my Caribbean songs. I have a list of Caribbean songs on my playlist as well. So we definitely don't forget about the Caribbean. And shout out to the collective movement of this time, which is Afrobeat, having the continent finally get it lots of international love for another contribution to our world and our good times. So this slide right here, y'all, this is a lot of this work is Jamel Shabazz, one of the photographers of our day. We had Gordon Parks documenting our people, showing the love and beauty in the hood. And so Jamel Shabazz is one of the photographers I wanted to feature. He's been around for a long time. He has 2 books. One is called Back in the Day. It's pretty awesome. And he has photos of the different poses and styles that were happening in the 80s and 90s. Tiffany, can we go on to the next joint? And we'll go right to the photos. We already did that song. Shout out to Melly Mel, showing us what else could happen. And then here is some collective and creative fun, right? Use what you have to create. We did that. And so I just wanted to shout out some of our neighborhoods and some of our ghettos are the most creative inventors. And so many inventions and styles come out of what comes out of the ghetto. So again, the ghetto is very resourceful in ways, even though the lack of resources have created these environments. So look at the ever so flowing shopping cart movement. Look at the poses and the smiles on the face. That was important. Just another day living in the hood, just another day around the way. Let's go into the next slide. Shout out to Queen Latifah, another song that about the neighborhood. And this is not only Jamel Shabazz with the two sisters with hands, sister sitting on the brother's lap. Look at the outfits, look at the name rings. But on the right side, we got one of Jamel Shabazz's proteges, my homeboy Akintola Hani, showing the beauty and the love of the homies right there. So you see they are on each other's side and got each other's back, those three kings. I definitely would encourage you to look up High Side. They Akintola Hanif is considered the Gordon Parks of our day. He has gone into neighborhoods and communities and shown the beauty of people who are often invisible or not seen or looked at. And I love this photo right here of the sister doing the brother's hair. We know hair braiding is a big thing. That would be one of my questions. Who would you go to get your hair done? Or where would you go to get your hair done? That's important right there. So shout out to Akintola Hanif creating High Side and Jamel Shabazz and all the photojournalists and all the journalists and all the nosy ladies in the hood as well. Thank you. We could go into the last slide, which is how to be in contact with me. I'm on the gram sometimes when I do social media at 4perp or you can email me Sheikia Norris at gmail.com. Full name, no dot, except at right before .com. That's where I'm at. And Tiffany, I'm gonna pass it on to you to tell us what's next.
All right, so love offerings and donations specifically for today. You can use Zelle or Cash App. And when you send that love donation, please use the code #690 PM for Miss Purple Norris so that she can receive your love. And on the other side of that, we have our love offerings and donations on the monthly automated system here. So use the bit.ly link, bit.ly/WooLove, then insert that amount, $25, $50, $75, or $100, so that you can set up your automated payments. So every month from the specific account that you designate, your love offering will be contributed into the Woo community. Here we have coming up on Sunday, October 9th, everything you need to know about CBD with Koa Robinson. So please join us as we kick off our next week with Miss Koa, no R, Koa Robinson. Welcome to the Woo Nation, all new members. If you're joining us for the first time, whether in Zoom or Facebook, please drop it. Let us know that you're here so we can acknowledge your presence and invite you to continue to join us each and every session. This is the Wake Up Everybody schedule. We're live on Zoom and Facebook 5 days a week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. If you would like a notification when it's time to join us on one of these platforms, please text the word Woo Nation in cap locks to 74121. And make sure you shop our swag shop whenever you need to give a gift or you want to update your own wardrobe or whatever you need. Come and shop our swag shop at bit.ly/Woo Swag. And if you're interested in helping us keep this program going, please stay on. Email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com so that we know that you're interested in helping to keep this program going. Thank you, and here's how you stay in touch with us. Register weekly at bit.ly/wakeupmovement so you can see which facilitators are coming up and the topics they will be covering. Join us on Facebook in our private group, which is bit.ly/Woo Community, or follow our public page, which is bit.ly/Woo Nation. On Instagram, we're at Wake Up Everybody Virtual. Episodes are on YouTube at bit.ly/Woo on YouTube. And again, email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. At this time, I ask the participants who are still in the space with us to come off of mute. It is time to rain love and abundance on Purple for taking us down memory lane, having us rep our hood. It's feeling all good today. So thank you so much. Come on, everybody. Join us.
Thank you, Purple.
As usual.
Thank you, beloved.
Memory
Thank you.
lane. It
Back,
was
taking us back.
awesome.
All right, girls, gotta
Nobody
go.
can do it like you.
All right, Purple.
Go ahead, Adam.
Let's walk up to this. It was
It's a
wonderful.
family
Thank you.
affair.
Yeah,
Woo.
Purple.
Yes,
Thank y'all
ma'am.
so
Wonderful.
much.
Hi,
I
Viola.
receive. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
Peace,
Purple.
everyone.
God
love,
bless you. It was great.
and fun.
And the beat don't stop.
That's right, Adam. Let's keep it going, brother.
I was about to say it just goes on and on and on and on. The beat keep rocking through the break of dawn and on. All right, that's enough.
Your daddy would be proud, Tiffany. Your daddy would be proud.
Oh, thank you. Good day.